we should be flagging this with you that this fight is a disgrace and shouldn't be happening.
But I don't understand, on what level? Like, there's no substance to what he's saying. Conor Benn's last two fights have been at what, 154, 155? So, yes, he's moving up two divisions. He's moving up one division from the fights that he's boxed in lately. We understand. This is the first time anyone has mentioned Conor Benn coming up two divisions. So thank you that it's actually the opponent's dad that's doing it.
Eddie Hearn fired back with real emotion after Chris Eubank Sr. called the fight a disgrace. But Hearn didn't just ignore the comment. He tore Eubank's claims apart, or not, by one. According to Hearn, the criticism holds no real weight. Conor Benn's last two fights were already close to this weight class, so the idea that he's suddenly jumping two divisions is just false. And here's the twist. It's not even the fighter Chris Eubank Jr. who's speaking out. It's his father trying to stir up controversy and pull the spotlight away from the actual event. To Hearn, this isn't concern. It's sabotage. He sees it as an outdated voice from the past, desperate to stay relevant by creating drama. The big question is, why create chaos when the fight already carries so much pressure? For Hearn, this isn't just background noise. It's a calculated attempt to mess with something important. A bitter past trying to damage the future.
So, yes, I do think it's dangerous for Conor Benn to move up two divisions and fight this guy. But what would you say when he beats him? What happens then? So, in my opinion, what's making this fight a 50-50 is the weight. I think Conor Benn is the much better fighter. I think he's better prepared. I think he's much sharper. I think pound for pound he punches harder. But he's at a big disadvantage coming up to 160. And that's what makes the fight a 50-50.
No doubt, Eddie Hearn admits Conor Benn. He's taking a risk by moving up two full weight classes. But that's exactly what makes this fight so exciting. While many see it as a wild gamble, Hearn sees a smart, calculated move that could redefine Benn's legacy. In his eyes, Conor is the sharper, stronger, and more complete fighter, despite giving up size. Hearn believes the only reason people see this fight as even slightly even is because of the weight difference, not because Chris Eubank Jr. has better skills. In fact, he's confident that Benn has the power and precision to close that gap and break Eubank down. So now the real question isn't about risk. It's whether Eubank can handle Benn's speed and aggression once the size advantage is gone. What do you think? Can Benn shock the world, or will size win the day? Drop your predictions in the comments and don't forget to like the video.
Jim, and I only see one side, but I wasn't expecting him to be as strong as he was. And for someone so little, he does pack a punch. And I was quite shocked by that. I thought I could potentially just bully him because being 2-3, probably three, maybe four weight classes above him, I just thought I'd be a bit too big. But yeah, he's very, very good. I'm quite intrigued.
Meanwhile, Ramon Musa delivered a brutal reality check to Chris Eubank Jr. after going toe-to-toe with Conor Benn in a sparring session. Musa came in heavier and expected to control the session, but what actually happened turned everything upside down. Benn's power was shocking. His punches weren't just fast, they were precise and dangerous. Musa admitted he was stunned by how fearless and explosive Benn was. It didn't feel like a sparring session, it felt like a real fight. After that, experienced Musa no longer sees Benn as just a smaller guy moving up in weight. He sees him as a serious threat. And more than that, he believes Eubank Jr. is walking straight into a disaster. The truth? Benn isn't just ready, he's built to punish. And Musa, who felt that power firsthand, knows it better than anyone.
For all the promotion, for all the nonsense, for all the crap, you've got two fighters here. Might not be for a world title, but if you want to see a scrap, you're going to see one, because these two like to fight. Look at their careers. They are the fighters. They are the brawlers. They love it. And they only know one way. And that's what's going to happen on April 26th. They're going to meet in the ring, in the center of the ring, and they're going to go off. And that's why the casual fans are going to love this fight. Yes, the boxing fans will.
Los Honors Ben Shalom isn't holding back. He's made it clear, this isn't just another boxing match. It's war. Forget the fancy titles and media hype. What's really at stake here are two fighters who only know one thing: how to go forward. Neither of them backs down. Ever. This is a clash between two warriors fueled by pure aggression. And when they meet on April 26th, all hell is going to break loose. No slow starts. No feeling out rounds. From the opening bell, it's going to be chaos. Explosive energy. Non-stop action. The kind of fight that keeps the crowd on their feet and eyes locked on the ring. This isn't just a fight. It's a spectacle that could shake the very foundation of boxing. The real question is, who's going to crack first? Because one thing's for sure, this won't be decided by scorecards. This is personal.
Chris Eubank is the favourite for the good reason that he's been fought at the higher level and he is naturally the bigger man. But that man Ben has got some ire and got some danger in him, and he will be even more dangerous when that first bell sounds on April the 26th.
Fury C. On the flip side, Adedola is standing firm. Chris Eubank Jr. is the favorite, and it's not hard to see why. He's fought at the highest level, faced elite opponents, and he's the naturally bigger man. But let's not forget, Conor Benn is no pushover. Benn brings raw, explosive power that can change the fight in an instant. When the bell rings on April 26th, his aggression will be on a whole new level. This isn't just about size or experience. Sure, Eubank has the edge in both, but that might not be enough to stop Benn from taking control. Yes, Eubank has been through wars, but Benn's youth, fire, and hunger could be what tips the scales. The real question, can Eubank survive the storm, or will Benn's fury outshine his experience? This fight is going to explode, and when it does, anything can happen.
I felt sorry for Junior because he is a 34-year-old man at the time. He wants his own thing. His father is always going to be the centre of attention.
Yeah.
I think he's right to make his own decisions.
Simon, I see exactly what you're saying because Nigel has stood back from Conor's career and Chris Senior was right in the front at the beginning. And I think it's great that Junior is walking his own path.
So do I.
However, they have had horrendous tragedy.
Collins has shaken the boxing world with a brutal truth bomb about the inner struggles haunting Chris Eubank Jr.'s career. This fight isn't just about punches. It's about freedom, identity, and breaking free. Collins doesn't hold back. He calls out the toxic father-son dynamic that, in his eyes, has held Eubank Jr. back from truly becoming his own fighter. While Conor Benn has grown and built his own legacy, with his father Nigel Benn taking a respectful step back, Eubank Jr. has been stuck in the shadow of a father who just won't let go. But Collins digs even deeper. He talks about the emotional weight Eubank Jr. carries, suggesting that behind the scenes, personal pain and pressure might be dragging him down more than anyone realizes. And so, the real question becomes, can Chris Eubank Jr. finally break free from his father's grip? Or is he destined to stay trapped in that shadow forever?
It's going to be a very good fight. Conor has punching power chances. Chris is the bigger guy, so you give Chris the advantage going in because he's a bigger guy. But Conor does have exceptional punching power, so it's going to be a great fight. I think Chris should win the fight. I think Chris should outbox him, outsmart him, but he will have to be smart early because Conor is a great puncher.
Roy Jones Jr. is calling this fight a high-stakes chess match, one that could easily spiral into total chaos. He gives Chris Eubank Jr. the edge in terms of size and skill, but he's not. Ignoring the one dangerous wild card, Conor Benn's raw, explosive power. Yes, Eubank might be the slicker, more technical fighter, but if he slips up early, Benn has the kind of power that can end the fight in seconds. Roy doesn't believe Eubank can coast through this one untouched. He warns that the early rounds will be brutal, and just one mistake could be fatal. Even more, Roy pushes back on the idea that Eubank is untouchable. He says if Benn lands clean, the entire fight could flip in a heartbeat. Here's the brutal truth. Roy expects Eubank to win, but only if he's razor sharp from the very first second. Because if Eubank loses focus, even for a moment, Benn will detonate, and it could be lights out.
No, I'm not. No, I can't be inconsistent. I can't be dishonest and a hypocrite. I've said from the outset that I didn't like the fight. I felt it was a fight built upon other people's legacies. I understand what it's turned into. I understand the furore and the interest, and I understand the point that Eddie Hearn's making. If you ask Frank Warren what he thinks of it, he doesn't think much of it. People might say that's because he's not involved in it. But I would like to see Conor Benn fighting at 147 and winning a world title in that weight class. And I'd like Eubank, who I think is a brilliant showman and a great raconteur, fighting for a world title at 160 or 168. Not this situation, but each to their own. I don't know, where are you on it?
Well, where are you on it? It's going to be a massive.
On the other hand, Simon Jordan isn't holding back. He calls this so-called super fight a shallow, money-making scheme built on famous last names. To him, this bout isn't about skill, rankings, or real competition. It's all about cashing in on hype. Jordan argues that Conor Benn has no business chasing headlines at catchweights. Instead, he should be focused on the 147-pound division and fighting for a world title like a true contender. As for Chris Eubank Jr., Jordan admits he's a showman, but says he belongs at 160 or 168 pounds, not dragged into what he calls sideshow scraps designed for pay-per-view numbers, not boxing greatness. Jordan isn't alone. Even veteran promoter Frank Warren has called out the fight, saying it's more about flash than substance. And that's the brutal truth. Yes, this fight is massive. Yes, it'll draw attention, but is it built on real competition or just nostalgia? And marketing. The real question is, do we want more boxing like this? Or should we be demanding something more genuine?
Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
Joe Gallagher didn't hold back when speaking about Chris Eubank Jr.'s fight for independence. He questioned whether Eubank's desire to step out of his father's shadow is truly real or just part of the act. Eubank Jr. claims he's focused on building his own legacy, refusing to walk the same path as his legendary father. But beneath the confidence, there's a difficult truth. He still wants his father's approval, even if he won't admit it. The reality is, having his father's support in his corner would mean everything. It's an awkward truth that often gets ignored. And so the burning question remains. Can Eubank Jr. truly rise to the top on his own terms, or will he always be chasing the validation of the legacy he's trying to escape? The pressure is growing, and the drama around Eubank Jr. is far from over, because this fight isn't just about boxing, it's about identity, legacy, and whether Chris Eubank Jr. can finally stand on his own.
Has Eubank got enough left in him to deal with someone who's going to be lots of energy, and is he really what he is? He hasn't really boxed at the calibre of Eubank. So it's like, Ben's been calling me out for years. He's the best guy at calling people out and not fighting them. I think he's called every person out on the face of the earth and never fucking fought them. And he just waited out for this Eubank fight. Yeah. But it's fucking funny. It's actually clever.
Josh Kelly isn't holding back. He's questioning whether Chris Eubank Jr. still has enough left in the tank to handle Conor Benn's relentless energy in the ring. But Kelly isn't fully sold on Benn either. The real concern? Whether Benn is actually as good as he says he is, especially since he hasn't faced anyone at Eubank's level yet. Kelly also calls out Benn's pattern of big talk and few follow-throughs, years of calling out top names without actually stepping into the ring with them. He believes Benn might be more focused on chasing a huge payday than proving himself as a top-tier fighter. To Kelly, it all feels like a long game, keeping the hype alive while avoiding real risks. So the question is Benn playing this smart, or is it all just smoke and mirrors? When the moment of truth finally comes, will Conor Benn back up his words, or will he find another way to dodge the real test?
Maybe then you just don't know. Maybe where does he go from there if Conor beats him? I'm not trying to say Conor's any less of him, but yeah, Chris is obviously the guy who should beat him because he's a lot heavier, maybe more seasoned, but it's definitely a 50-50 fight in my eyes. I think Conor's going to beat him. So yeah, you can see where that thought process comes from. But who knows?
Till isn't holding back when it comes to Chris Eubank Jr.'s bold claim that he'll retire if Conor Benn beats him. That's a massive statement, and Till understands the pressure Eubank is feeling. With Benn's huge weight jump and the intense history between them, a loss for Eubank would be a disaster. But here's where things get interesting. Till doesn't view this as a guaranteed win for Eubank. He sees it as a razor-close 50-50 fight. Eubank has the size, experience, and durability